it's kind of fun because I'm trying to equate my paintings, like here's an example behind me, that some of you may be more familiar with me, to some of my pottery that I have just rediscovered. So the only thing is I need a new kiln. And Kristen's here with us, of course.
Hello.
And we're just going to quickly start throwing pots. And the thing is, I have thrown thousands of pots.
Yeah, probably tens of thousands.
And I kind of got off of it a bit because it's one thing to throw a pot that is a pot. It's perfect. You drink out of it, you eat out of it, you make a casserole, something along that line. But I've always had problems equating that with my paintings. And lately, I've become intrigued with that connection. And I'm getting closer. So today, I'm going to throw a pot and show you what I've been working on. I just showed you one at the very beginning, and there's some to my right here. And we're going to see if we can't kind of explain why the idea of a perfect pot. There's two different avenues for that. There's manufacturing. Like you can buy a dishware set. It's absolutely perfect, right? Porcelain, stoneware, whatever. And I don't find excitement in that, really. I find excitement in the menge, which is the artist's finger in the pot. And I think that extends to my paintings as well. And I think that's one of the reasons my paintings are so gestorial in nature. So I'm going to throw like this bottle form, I think today. The joy of doing the pottery again has been the fact that I can kind of just let loose a little bit with it instead of, oh, I'm making 1,000 public radio mugs this week, or I have to make a dinnerware set for so-and-so, or there's a wedding vase that needs to be completed, or we even did urns. I even did urns for a while. The principles are the same in throwing. I'm still throwing a good pot from the standpoint of it's balanced. It has a well-established, like right now, I'm compressing the bottom so that it doesn't crack. You get those radial cracks or even spiral cracks that can happen if you don't compress your bottom. Use my finger and then I come back in with the wooden rib. But you can see with the painting behind me is that I work pretty bright and energetic, generally speaking, a lot of lines. And so the problem has been, how do I get my pottery, which previously was pretty, as Warren McKinsey said one time, the one time I got to actually meet him in person, he said, you should probably stick with your sculptures. So I thought that was pretty telling, and that stuck with me for a while. And he's right, because I just wasn't able to get a feel that he and others have gotten. He's passed away years ago. There's a lot of students of his that are quite good now too. And we have some of their pots too.
We do.
We have some of Warren's pots. So I'm going to throw this and then I'm going to alter it. And this is going to be a shorter video today, I think. We're going to just kind of give you a sense of what I've been doing. And then hopefully we can buy that used kiln for $600.
Yeah, we'll see.
So I can start firing it.
One has to change a little for that to happen.
Yeah, we need to sell some paintings maybe so we can support the pottery habit. If it isn't one habit, it's another when you're an artist. So this isn't painting, but the same kind of principles are going to apply as far as what my desire is. Energetic lines, referencing historical aspects of art. And feeling that creative zone. The creative zone is really amazing because we say all the time, the hashtag create without fear, right?
Yeah. Our neighbor is mowing without fear.
That's right. There's a lot of bagging right now going on. A lot of leaves coming down in Duluth, beautiful Duluth, Minnesota. So this is a little thicker. I'm going to make one more pole here, and then I'm leaving it a little thicker because this is becoming more of a sculptural piece. It is a sculptural piece. I'm more interested in that aspect. Guys like Peter Volkus are an influence of mine, Paul Soldner, my professor Marvin Zender. Those guys from that era. Ken Ferguson's another one. Some of you in the pottery world know these names, and I finally have come to terms, I guess, with their work and what it means for mine. So that's pretty even down through the bottom, but I'm not going to worry a lot because I'm going to be altering this. I'm going to coddle this in. A lot of people that follow me don't realize the pottery aspect, you know.
No, they don't. We haven't really leaned into it.
We haven't for a very, very long time. So I'm trying to keep it thicker. Again, this is becoming more of a sculpture. It is more of a sculpture process. But I'm using the pot, standard forms, bottle forms, pitchers. I don't know if you guys can see any of it right next to me. There's a bunch over on the shelf over there. I'm just trying to use the classical forms and then reinterpret the concept of what it is to be a pot. One of Marvin's exercises for me, Kristen, was for all of us. You would say, okay, I want you to make a vessel that holds milk. And then we go from there. Or you want to make a vessel that holds love or something. You know, it's like, so it was always this kind of process of interpretation that I thought was really cool. I'm going to try and get the throwing lines out. I want to see some of the process showing, but not necessarily all of it. And I'm going to throw this piece, and then I'm going to throw another piece to go on top of this one. So I'm going to pull this off now. This is an old Randall wheel. Anybody know what the Randall wheels are? Potters? Some of you old guys know that?
Should we have any potters with us today?
No potters? So a bunch of painters going, what is he doing now? My training, my actual BFA, Bachelor of Fine Arts, is in ceramics. I focused on sculpture work, in fact, large scale stuff. But I also enjoyed painting, and I was an awful painter back then. And I don't know if I'm any better. I feel like I'm a little better than back in college.
You're better than when you were 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's a fact. So, you know, and that comes from just creating without fear all the time. Work, 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 butt and seat, as Kristen says. I like to get my butt in the seat and make stuff. Use my little calipers here. Get that out right. I almost don't have to measure it anymore. Just do it. So now we're going to make the top of this bottle vase form. And then I'm going to attach it even when it's still wet. Because I want to see that fingerprint. I want that spontaneity. I want things to droop. I want things to be a bad pot, if you will. It has to be visually interesting to me. There has to be some sort of a visual interest. You know, we're surrounded by nature here in Duluth, and if you go out in nature, there's actually quite a bit of chaos within it. There's a lot of chaos in nature, and branches hanging, black branches. If you really look at it, there's darkness. These black lines all over the place, and things happening everywhere. Okay, now let's see here. Clean that rim up a little bit. I'm gonna cut this off. I'm gonna put it on the other one. So before we moved, the kiln died, our last remaining kiln.
Yeah.
So we haven't been able to throw. And then our fire pots. And then of course, on the way here when we moved 2 years ago, the wheel died. So that was nearly $400 later to replace the motor, repair the motor, because you can't replace the motor. There is no such thing as replacing this motor right now. And the Randall wheels are no longer made. Make sure that's sunk in there. Most people that are doing pottery are using the electric ones. They've got the plastic bats, it's a different sort of an animal. I have a fork here somewhere. Hugo's been having loads of fun in here, as usual. Now, like I said, I've made thousands of perfect pots, including, like I said, public radio mugs and such. And I'm more interested now in that, the touch, the gestural lines, like in this bottle form behind me, or next to me. I lost my fettling knife, though, Kristen.
Can't help you.
Yeah, I don't know where it is. So we had a really nice show go up, 3 pieces, but really nice 3 pieces at the Loom, which is a lighting design furniture store here in Duluth. CF Designs, it's a brainchild of hers, Cheryl Fostick. And I have privilege to have 3 bigger 4-foot paintings in it. You can see that in our social media if you go check it out. This is just a slurry, liquid clay, basically liquefied clay, more liquefied than what I threw with. It does not slip. There is a difference. Now we're going to add this onto this one. How far are we? An hour into this yet?
No, we are about 11 minutes.
11 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have that on there. I'm just going to kind of press that in. I can't really fit my hand down in there, so I'm going to try to find my handy little wooden spoon and see if I can't smooth the inside down a little bit. So a body awareness is really important, where you are in space when you're doing these sorts of pieces, the assemblages. Like this one over here, that's a much taller one. That's a 24-inch piece. It takes longer to do that, obviously. And I debated about doing a little jar, but for the TV viewers at home, it's makes sense to kind of go a little bit bigger. So we're going to do this 12, 14-inch piece. I don't know. Let's see how tall that is. That's about 12 inches. I'm just cleaning up the edges a little bit now, and then I get to have fun beating it up. Typically, I might do a little bit now and then a little bit later and do it in phases, because the characteristics of the clay, much like the paint, at different levels or different times, things dry, the viscosity changes and so forth, and that's important to recognize that there is a difference in what you do. I'm going to take this cheese cutter because, why not? Try and do it here so you can see it.
Let us see what you do.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me cut the bottom. I got to trim that bottom off a little bit. And we'll find a place to stick that on somewhere on this pot.
Thanks for the hearts, guys.
So now I'm going to do basically what would be called a wasting method. I'm going to take some material away from this piece and add some back in. I might put these things back on for fun as a kind of a gesture of a handle. I want people to take the attentiveness when they touch the pieces. So when I did the teapots, the brightly colored teapots, which you can see some of the brightly colored things behind me, I had teapots that were similar to that, right? The ones that I showed quite a bit over the years, Coconut Grove and down in, I don't know, all these places I showed for a while. Did a lot of each soils. And okay, let's see now. The fun is I could go all the way through and completely destroy the pot. But it's pretty thick. Remember, I cut it thick. So now I'm going to pull that out like that. I'm going to continue up the pot in a minute, but first I'm going to go to the other side right there. You might not be able to see that one as well, but I want to be kind of on the opposite end. And I'm just going to chunk off a big piece of that. Boop. We'll save that later. We'll be doing something with that later on. And then we'll do this side here. I hope that's showing up okay.
Oh, sounds like you're going to do some raku later.
Oh, raku.
Scat traffics. Nice.
Nice. I did a ton of raku for years and years and years. And a lot of guys do, like Paul Somner did a ton of raku. He was a big raku guy. Ed Rizak from Marquette, he did a bunch. I don't know if any of you know that name, but that goes back a ways for me. All right, this one, I'm sorry, I did that without thinking. I'll try and do it where you can see a little better. I might mess it up entirely doing it this direction. Come back here. Oh, actually, that's kind of fun. Let's do this. I'll just do that. Remember, I told you I want the impression of a handle. I've made thousands of pots over the years, and I'm not interested in making any more that are strictly beautiful, functional pieces. It's just not, I don't have it in me anymore. So here I am doing these again. Whoops. And a whoops is a good thing. You like whoopses. We're going to go ahead and leave that there. And then we're going to do again, and I'm going to kind of mess with this right here. I'm going to put that down a little lower. Like this, maybe. And that's kind of fun. Then we're going to go ahead and add a loop here, like that. Let's just shove that right in there, see what happens. I'm kind of like the, I'm the Julia Childs of the pottery. I think we need more butter. And you just throw that in there. Just measure. What is it when I cook with you? She's over in the other room right now. When we cook, you're like, oh, just add a smidge of this and a bit of that when you're cooking.
And a glug.
A smidge and a glug, and I have no idea. So now it's kind of hard because I usually work from this side. Right now I'm going to just do some gestures and work from this side here. Oh, see, there it is. There's the hole. But we're re-examining the concept of a pot, not pot. But what does it mean for a pot to exist in this particular day and age? You know, when you got perfect manufacturing and the ability to make these things that are computer generated and so forth. 3D printed. And, you know, you can make anything come to life. It's great. But what does that mean now? And people I'm not the first to deal with this. There's a lot of others that are dealing with this too. And this is interesting. We haven't done a show like this, have we yet? Where I'm having to work backwards, basically. It's kind of different. I'm going to put a little impression there, and then I'm going to do this on this one here. Whoops. I remember to show you guys what I'm doing. So mark making, the same as the paintings, all right? So I'm doing mark making. I'm imitating things like I'm looking out the window right now, and there's telephone wires and electric wires running over there. There's branches over there from the trees. You know, there's dark shadows here and there. You got the trees that are standing straight up and down like that, you know, and those are the kind of things that interest me when I'm looking out there, is the things that we take for granted at every point in our day. And what does it mean nowadays to have a pot or a vase like this? For all intents and purposes, this is worthless because there's a giant hole in it. So it's not going to hold water to put your pretty flowers in, right? So what's the point? And that's what is fascinating me right now about this, and always has in a lot of respects, is what is the point of us doing pottery? Is there a point anymore of it? I don't know.
Because it was utilitarian, and now it isn't necessary.
Exactly.
I struggle with this at my other job too, with other artists I work with.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the same thing, you know, with what you're doing with the other groups. And it's become really kind of decorative. I mean, it is decorative. It always was decorative. I mean, you look at Homon pottery, right?
Oh, yeah.
The amazing 10,000-year-old pottery from Japan. And it's incredibly detailed. And they put a lot of effort in it, but they were still functional. They still cooked with them. They stored things in them. It's really amazing. But now, do we need those to do that? No, we really don't. We've got all kinds of other material to do it. On the other hand, I think we should all start making pots to store things in again, because it's probably healthier for us.
Probably.
Unless, of course, we put lead in it again, which we won't. So I'm just doing a little bit of alterations. You can see what it is. And it's making, and now the firing process, when we actually put it in the kiln and we put it in the fire with it, then I'm going to probably start to address some of the different finishes, like the colors. So that's going to be the next stage. Stay tuned with me. Hopefully we get a kiln soon, and we can check out what this looks like when we put it through the fire, the gauntlet of fire. Thanks for joining me in my exploration on my pottery versus my paintings. and we'll see you next time. David Austin Gallery.com. Bye bye.